37 now, and I've been finding that it's just become more and more powerful as I've been going through it. That's been my experience. And so, I mean, that the one recently that really stood out for me was in my defencelessness, my sense.
Oh, yes, very powerful.
So
it's a lovely one,
yeah.
But leading up to that, there were a couple that I mean, I understand them now as I'm reading them, but I don't think I really don't think I really grasped them. So 151.
151.
All things are echoes of the voice for God.
Oh yes, yeah.
And there were some of the review ones, I think, that I looked at again. And the one about heaven is the decision I make.
Yes.
As well. I mean, I kind of think I know what's going on, but yeah, those two stood out for me that I would like, I think.
Yeah.
And this one, sickness is a defence against the truth.
Oh yes.
That one I really like.
What number is that?
It's 136.
136.
Again, it was one that I.
Well, that's a lovely lesson.
Kind of get, but I don't really. It's very understand.
Oh yeah, I like that lesson. Sickness is a defence against the truth. No one can heal unless he understands what purpose sickness seems to serve. For then he understands as well its purpose has no meaning. So I'm sure it'll spark us some more thing. For then he understands as well its purpose has no meaning. You know, the purpose of the ego, the sickness is the ego. Yeah. That's the only sickness there is to the truth. And for then he understands as well that the purpose has no meaning. The purpose of the ego, you could say in terms of the Course, is it's meaningless. It has no meaning except to create an illusory world of duality and fear and separation. You could say everyone's in fear of separation or fear of the death of that which is limited and the identification with that which is limited and identifying that is life. That when that dies, that is death. So in terms of the Course, the whole construct, conceptualization, identification with the ego is a sickness. Is really a sickness that is preventing. I would call it, in my words, I'd call it the identification with ego thoughts and various aspects that it identifies with, creating a sense of limitation, which is a kind of a sickness. You could say various levels of sickness to being in one's true, authentic, limitless nature in the now. So, so being causeless and without a meaningful intent of any kind, it cannot be at all. Well, it doesn't have a meaningful intent, it has an anti-life intent. You know, the more one is engaged with the ego thoughts and mechanisms and starts to see one as a limited being in contrast to other limited beings in a dualistic kind of fearful separated world, and starting to get, fear of death and various things start to seem real for it. You could say all of that is meaningless because it's not the truth. Only the truth can set one free. The thing is being causeless and without a meaning. The great thing is, like, once you identify with the ego, it's the birth of a separate I. In that split second, the birth of a separate I exists. So there's an I now in the world in relation to other. In that split second of ego formation, there seems to be a sense of me different to other, you see. So, and then this me that thinks it's separate from the rest of the universe thinks it has the power of causality. You know, it thinks it's creating and has power in the world to do things. And actually, that's an illusion. All actual power comes from the one source. But it's because it thinks it's in separation, you know, so it starts, you know, usually egos in separation, they start with, even all of languaging starts with I, which is already starting up a confirmation of dualistic separation. You know, there's a me here, sitting in this chair, and as with the identification with the body, with thoughts, it seems like I'm located in this body, and the thoughts are my identity, and I'm a separate, discrete thing here, and then I project over there, oh, you must be exactly what I am. See, everyone projects onto others exactly their level of consciousness, their level of ego identification. So like if I was in food addiction, lots of fear, lots of anxiety, extreme body identification symptoms, I'd be projecting that, you know, I'd be feeling fearful, I'd be fearful of others, I'd be projecting that everyone in the world must be there, or everyone must be dangerous, or something like that. So I project exactly the level of identification. So I'm that divorced, or you could say I'm that sick, if we're going to use sickness as a defense. I'm that sick, so far removed from the truth. If I do some spiritual work, then, you know, what tends to happen is the level of identification with ego starts to diminish. So one starts to feel more limitless, one starts to have love and compassion for others. If you go a bit further on and dissolve the ego, one starts to see that the I is an illusion, and separation is an illusion. There is only oneness. You see, there is no such thing as a separate thing, and there is no such thing as a separate I causing anything. That's seen at a very high level of spirituality.
Can we just apply that? I know I've asked this question similarly before.
Yes.
But can we just apply that to? I mean, I immediately think of the terrorist attack that happened in Manchester.
Yes.
How do I not? I don't understand. I see that evil as very, very separate.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
To myself. I know you've spoken about this before, and I forget. I can't help but separate myself from that and project on my fears. How does that work?
Okay, so what are you holding in mind about that now?
That boy was evil, and that what he did was, you know, it was an act of terror, and it's hurt so many people, and that he was mad, and I've got a lot of opinions on it.
Okay.
Against
you can say it, yeah.
Against religion, against organised religion, actually, against racism, against prejudice, against globalisation. I think there's a lot of factors, but I feel a lot of sadness about that, and I find it difficult not to see myself as separate.
Okay, so you're pulled in. You're being pulled into this.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I was last time with the London. Those things do affect me quite a lot.
Well, they do. They affect the me a lot. You see. So okay. So this incident has affected you as an individual. Yes. Okay. So like you're having these thoughts about it. And you're having these feelings come up about it, and you're having these judgmental thoughts arise. Are they here now, in this very moment?
I mean, I've been practicing, and again, I suppose that's through Course in Miracles, because I think one of the lessons was about not judging.
Yes.
You know, and about letting go of judgment, and how freeing that could be. And so I keep practicing that, but I can't help when I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, yes, that makes sense, and I'm listening and I flow, and that's the block I hit. because then I'm thinking, yeah, but I can't help but feel some separateness when it comes to people like that. And I'm not just talking about him, I mean, I'm talking about everything that I perceive is behind that.
Yes, yes. It's, I think the course would call that a grievance. Okay. But, so is that grievance here now in this very moment?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it is
okay,
now.
okay.
Mentioned it, yeah.
So this grievance is here, and the story around it is here. Is there any feeling around it? Is there a feeling associated with it in this moment?
Fear.
Okay, so there's fear, and there's all of this projection going on around this. Like this fear and this projection. In this moment, does this feel like this is the you? Is this what you really are?
I don't believe it is what I really am.
Oh, that's an intellectual thing. So you don't believe it, but you know it's still an aspect of what you believe you are.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, like thought. Throughout your life, thoughts have come and gone, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
They pass, and feelings have come and gone, and images have come and gone. Yes.
Mm.
So all of this stuff passes. It arises.
Yes. Yes.
And something is here. Okay. So all of this is, let's say all of this has happened, and these thoughts and these feelings are here right now. There is something here right now that has never passed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and is actually, so like just before the incident, let's say there was nothing much happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then the incident arose, and then suddenly all of these thoughts and these feelings started to come up. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, like if I was to say to you, like, you know, like I'm holding a mug under the table, you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I suddenly put it in front of you.
Yes.
And there's a reaction to it.
Yes.
And then I put it under the table.
Yeah.
Now, are you the mug?
No.
So, what are you then that watched all of this come and go?
Right, I don't know.
Hmm?
I
Okay.
don't know. Are you saying that this is kind of like it's just something, it's a story that I'm able to attach my fear that was always there?
Well, I'm saying partly that. But you see, like, I don't like quoting Einstein, but anyway, I'm going to quote him. Einstein says you need to go to the next level before you can escape a problem.
Mm.
You see, so there is dealing with the problem at the level of you know, you could pray for a miracle to see the whole situation differently, but and that can work as well, or the thing. But actually, when you experience your true self, often there's revelation as to what the meaning of all of these things are. What's the meaning of individuality, separation, attacks, various things? You know, they're recontextualized at the higher spiritual level, which you don't get at a lower level of consciousness, you see. So, okay, if there's fear here and thoughts going on, are you aware that something is observing these things? Because they're all passing. The fear wasn't, even the fear, I mean, where's the fear located right now? Is it located in your body, or is it all over the place?
I mean, it just, I suppose it feels in my chest.
Okay, so it's in your chest, and you have thoughts floating around as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a location. Yeah, chest is a location. Thoughts are just passing, aren't they? There's one, and then there's the next, and then there's a next, and there's something identifying with the thoughts.
Yes.
You know, and
yes.
so there must be something here larger than just an individual thought that flits across, or something larger than this area. You see, the chest is kind of an area around here. Well, there has to be something even prior to that can observe. Like if I can observe an area of this mug, I'm observing it. The mug isn't what I am, you know, because I have to be, my true self has to be before the mug. Like if I say I'm the mug, then I've identified so strongly with this tiny little object that I've lost my experiencing of true self, you see. So this feeling and these thoughts, is there something observing this? Is there an experience of something observing of this, which is not this?
It's an interesting question, because actually I didn't feel as attached to this narrative as what I feel I am now, because I'm finding it difficult to separate myself from it. Actually,
You're getting more interested in it.
Well, I'm thinking about it and thinking, actually, it feels very much. It feels very threatening. I feel very threatened.
Yes. Okay. So that means you're going into it. So one thing to do, there's two ways to go with this. One is to feel the feeling and fully allow the feeling. Well, the other is to go, even if you felt threatened, can you be, threatened is just a feeling, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, the question is, are you a feeling?
No.
Okay, so have you had an experience where you've had a spiritual recognition that you are not a feeling that comes and goes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you have that. So okay, so there's a strong feeling now. Something is observing the feeling, which is not the feeling.
Yeah, I'm a little bit blocked on this. I have to say, I'm more blocked on this than I have been.
Okay.
A lot of other things.
How's the block experienced?
Because I feel like potentially I could observe myself not having, not being those feelings.
Yes.
But I'm finding it difficult to understand because it's so much bigger than me. This isn't just a feeling that I'm having, like an emotional pain that I'm having that I can detach from, or even a physical pain. This is something that's happened outside that I suppose is almost like a collective feeling that a lot of people are feeling, that I'm reading in the press, that's happening in the world, and so it feels.
It feels like you must join in.
Yeah.
And is the collective of individuals, is that real? I'm not trying to ask you intellectual questions, but it's like like fear of death. Fear of death.
Yeah.
One can only have fear of death if one is identifying oneself with something that's limited, that can die. The dieable, yes. And something has an investment in staying in that, in the limited, in the separated, in that which suffers fear and can die, and not having an awakening to that which can never die. Yes.
Yeah. I think there is a block there.
Okay, so the thing then is that you can. I would say that the way to help the world is to be free. There is another school, which is the way to help the world is to engage in the suffering of the world. Yeah, that could be another strong idea within the collective. There can be belief systems whereby, if there is suffering, it's also good to suffer along with the people who are suffering. you know.
I suppose I'm asking. I suppose
Yes.
I'm kind of asking where. Well, I'm asking you. I
Yes.
suppose, specifically. How do you respond to things like Manchester? What happened in Manchester?
Oh yeah, you can ask me that. Yeah, okay.
I think that's what I'd like to know, really.
Well, you know, for me, it's to let it go, and to be here now, in the time that's now.
Okay.
Because, you know, what happened on a TV screen 1 second ago is not for me to hold on,
Right.
you see. Or any emotion any thought or emotion in the now that seems to have identification with it, is to go to the observer of that, or to use, of course, a miracle lesson on it,
Yeah.
and to release it from the now, the timeless, eternal now, ASAP, not to hold on to stories, judgments. Why? I'll tell you why, because it's probably more important for me to tell you the reasoning why.
Yeah.
You know, because Hawkins did research, which TM meditation also supports, which is that the higher the level of consciousness one radiates out into the world, you know, immense love. Like, for example, with Hawkins' research, one enlightened teacher on the planet is counterbalancing something like 10 million, the negativity of 10 million individuals, you know, below 200. You know, someone at that, you know, so someone who's, you know, the level of feeling pain and anger and the suffering of others, in the way I'm describing it, you know, there is a thing where it's a low energy, like resentment, feeling the pain of others. I would say it's more of a low vibration. I mean, there is a compassionate energy, but that for me is very, very powerful. It's very positive. You know, like something like Mother Teresa, you know, not to be affected by all the death and the suffering, but to be at a very, very high level of consciousness, of feeling intense love and compassion.
Yeah.
Which is not like, you know, getting into the lower energies. So that tends to, so for me, it's like, if I want to help the world, you know, because I take the pathway of the mystic. So the pathway of the mystic is like to dissolve the ego to serve the world.
Right.
You know, so it's like, if you're in like timeless bliss and the eternal now, just your presence is already radiating out into the world and silently, you know, stopping negativity within the world. It's healing the world.
Okay, can I ask you?
Yes, go.
So, okay, my first question is, so if you were in the presence or one of the, maybe I'm just interested, I'm really interested about it. So if you were in the presence of a family members, of one of the family members of one of the victims,
Yes.
what would you, or can you even answer that? Probably, maybe it's a silly question. What would you be offering them, or how would you respond or react to them? Or if that happened to one of your family members and they lost a family member, you know, am I?
Yeah. Well, you know, my mother's pretty ill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I do in the group here. You know, I say God did not create illness in my mother; it is not real.
Yeah.
You know, I say, you know, my suffering mother is but an illusion in my mind.
Right.
So I do all of these things in this group.
Right.
I mean, many people hear me. You know, it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real. Why? Because I believe that miracles occur when you're tapped into a vibration, one of the higher vibrations, and even the non-dual vibrations are where more miracles happen.
Yeah.
You know, then I feel really, really sad. I'm going to cry and be disempowered in front of my mother. I don't see that of being any service to her.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so that's a low vibration.
Yeah.
The gift I give is to be. I know she'd be happy if I was happy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it aids no concern to wallow for me
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
And even if she died, I know she'd want me to be happy.
Yeah.
She wouldn't want me to be like in mourning
Yeah.
for like 20 years or anything.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
at higher realizations, you realize that the essence of an individual can never die. That when you recognize that, your whole the whole of the world is recontextualized. When you're in the more negative vibrations, it's like death and separation. So one becomes very traumatized around these things. But, you know, what I'm saying is actually it's a gift to myself and to the world and to God to maintain the highest vibration. You know, I have no, I mean, if these emotions come up to be processed, that's fair enough, but actually dwelling on them or increasing them or thinking that they're profitable or useful, you know, like if I was, you know, for me, a lot of the society bonds on the ego emotions. There's huge tranches of society that, you know, like there's tranches of society that will bond on gossip.
Yes.
There's tranches of society, you know, like when I was in addiction, food addiction, if I'd like said like to my close buddies who'd be food addicts, let's go and have a binge, they'd probably go, yes, you know, that's it's a negative vibration, but it seems to be a good thing, and you're joining and connecting with people. Or some people like are very, very angry and go on marches and shout and throw stones and things. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a joining, but these energies, there are huge tranches within society which think that these, you know, the energy of anger, you know, and outrage, you know, and participating in group things is a good thing. Or the energy, you know, or it's okay to just have a gossip group, you know, or it's okay to have a self-pity group, you know. But for me, they don't have much benefit for the world, even though it might seem like you're being human and maybe contextualize that as compassion and love, but for me it's not real compassion and real love. So you want to get into those higher vibrations. So, you know, for me, of course, I want, you know, the miracles occur with the absence of the I trying to control and make a judgment, or even saying anything is wrong in the world through the filters of the I, the separate I, or the personhood. You know, so from my own experience, when the I, or the separate self, is out of the way, maximal miracles are possible.
So do you not watch the news then? Are you, sorry, Kurt, but I'm just really interested about, are you not somebody that would watch the news?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because, you know, like my mother's quite ill, so I have to spend a lot of time, you know, going and checking on her.
Yeah. And
she's a CNN and Al Jazeera addict. I think she... So probably if I had my way, there would be just Alleluia going on in the background all the time. But, you know, I spend time with my mother, and I sit down with her and ask her how she is, and the news is just blaring on. So it's on. But to be actually, I was quite surprised. It might make me sound a bit inhuman, but I wasn't really pulled into it. You know, it's like at a certain level, if you keep doing the spiritual work, it's like a devotion not to go into and hold on to stories or negativity. It's like there's a deep inner silence, and I'm watching a lot of Muji as well. You know, it's like basking in the inner stillness and silence. And at a certain level, it becomes so strong that external phenomena don't tend to disrupt it.
Right.
So even if people talk and shout, or even if there's a horror movie on, it's like there isn't that much tracking of it, and it doesn't really affect the stillness and the silence. Actually, with that one, I have a story. You know, actually, I think I was going to a 12-step meeting, and actually I hadn't seen it, and people were sharing in the meeting, and then someone came up to me and I heard it that way, because I hadn't really had a chance to listen to any TV on that day. So there was no, because as I've said, it's like I want to hold, you know, my thing for myself and for the world. I guess this is the pathway of enlightenment. I follow the pathway of enlightenment on the mystic. There are different pathways. There's the pathway of service as well. But, you know, the gift I give is the absence of me, or to the greatest extent I can, to hold the greatest absence of me, i.e. the highest level of consciousness, i.e. you know, for me, the ego is that which creates the illusory world of projection, separation, then anger, outrage, then judgment. what I mean by judgment is it can only have a skewed understanding of life. It's not open to the spiritual revelations when you get to the fields of oneness, and actually the fields of recognizing what separation is, not on an intellectual level, but on an experiential level, you see.
Do you know, I feel like, again, I might be being blasphemous here, but do you know where you calibrate?
No, I have no desire to know either.
Did David Hawkins know where he calibrated?
Well, he didn't, he never ever told anyone, but he said he went through the gateway of 850. He shared in his videos, not 600, at 850. It's the level where Christ...
850?
Yeah, 850 or 950. It's the level where, and he had a similar one to Christ. It's past the level of enlightenment. It was like a non-verbal... A few things happened. There was a non-verbal entreaty that he could have power over the world, as a non-verbal temptation that arose within him, and which he passed. And he said that's what's transcended at a very, very high level, which is the non-verbal Luciferic temptation is that of, now that you've transcended karma, and now that you know that karma is an illusion and not real, own your power in the world. So anyway, we went through that. He said many teachers fall at that level. I don't know.
Can we name one? Do you know one that's fallen at that level?
He's named a few teachers, but I don't want to upset anyone.
No.
I don't want to upset anyone.
Because I have the book, I think it's over there actually, the Transcending...
I think I can talk about one of them anyway.
The Stairway to Enlightenment.
Yes.
What I've never understood about that, because I read little bits, so if I'm in chronic fear, I'll read that bit on fear.
Yeah, that's
But what I never understand is are you supposed to go up the stairway, or do you? Because I feel like I take a step up and 4 steps down, and then I'm constantly going like that. I don't understand it, and I never found it in that book on where it says, because it talks to you very much like, and then this will happen to you. And it's like, well, is it linear?
Oh, no, well, the book needs to be, what he's describing there is like how to transcend the level of consciousness. So he might be talking about shame, or he might be talking about guilt,
yes.
He might be talking about fear, he might be talking about desire. He might be talking about love, or he might be talking about unconditional love, or he might be talking about enlightenment. So those are various chapters, and they go up. Like you have shame, then guilt, then, going on up. So he describes each level as if how the energy is experienced if that was your dominant level. But it's still of practical purposes, even if you're at high level and you drop down to that level. Because if you're in fear, what are the major underpinnings and dualities of fear, and how do you transcend that? So you might actually be at a higher level than that, but you might drop down to fear, in which case reading the chapter and how to get insight from it will be very useful. So, each individual has a level of consciousness. Like if you were to calibrate everyone in this room, everyone would have a level of consciousness which would be relatively stable, which is relatively a level of one's intention. And that actually stays stable. Even though there's emotional fluctuations, or there can be emotional fluctuations from time to time, that's a level of consciousness. You see.
So confusing.
So it's a bit confusing. So it's like
I find that a bit confusing.
Yeah. Well, it's like you could be in bliss, and spiritually your intention is to be one with God, and then suddenly you have like a day of fear. It's not like on that day of fear you suddenly your level of consciousness for you. The level of consciousness of fear is a low level, but actually your intention, i.e. the level of spiritual work you've done and your intention, your sincere intention, is still the same. So it still holds you it's more like you're clearing out stuff at a level of consciousness than you're actually calibrating at that level of consciousness. So it's not a thing. Like if someone is at a level of consciousness and they're doing spiritual work, and they make like a commitment to be I think it's time for our next phase.
Can't tell you,
sorry, we've got to cut this shit.